Okay, everybody, a lot of people are going to be saying Happy Juneteenth. It should not be a federal holiday, and I'm on my way to work. Have a good day.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Juneteenth is now a federal holiday, has been for a few years, and not everybody gets that day off. I think probably most people don't get that day off, just like most people don't get a lot of federal holidays off. But some people do, and some people are really upset about it. Let's play clip 3.
Okay, everybody, a lot of people are going to be saying Happy Juneteenth. It should not be a federal holiday, and I'm on my way to work. Have a good day.
So brave, so courageous, and sacrificial. Isn't that so cool that this guy, who literally his whole job is to talk, is going into work on Juneteenth? He's so brave and hardworking. I really don't understand the consternation around the Juneteenth holiday. It's a cool holiday, and it's cool to get more time off, right? You know, I mean, we have in Alabama literal Confederate holidays where state employees still get the days off. And I think that most state employees, if the choices were only between we keep Confederate holiday or we don't and we have to go to work, they would probably say, well, let's keep the holidays. But, you know, I mean, there would, I think a lot of people would also say, well, let's just change them to something that's like worth celebrating. And what could be more worth celebrating than the emancipation of enslaved people in this country? I mean, most people recognize that slavery in this country was something like the original sin of the United States. And so the country releasing itself from that and ending slavery is a cool thing that we should be proud of. And the story of of Juneteenth, of the people in Galveston getting the word, and that's the day that they got the word that the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. You know, I mean, it's a cool story. It's a good thing to celebrate, and people deserve more time off, right? And so I think the fight for Juneteenth is winnable on all of those grounds. On all of those grounds, right? It's a good holiday. It's something that we should celebrate. It's something that we don't celebrate right now. You know, outside of Juneteenth, there's not another federal holiday dedicated to the freeing of the slaves. So that's a good thing. And also, people deserve more time off of work. But Trump seems to, and most conservatives, when they talk about Juneteenth, they don't talk about it. Typically, it's not like, oh, you have to work more, right? Because that's not really a good selling point. You know, I mean, when Democrats in Alabama talk about, we need to get rid of the Confederate holidays, nobody is going around and saying, because we have to get rid of the Confederate holidays because state employees in Alabama need to work more, right? Nobody's saying that because it's dumb. That would be a dumb thing to say. Not politically expedient, not true. It wouldn't be good. But, and so, most conservatives don't take that tact with Juneteenth, right? When most conservatives attack Juneteenth, they do it like, oh, it's woke. It's, I'm triggered by black people. Like, that's the argument. But Trump seems to have taken the least popular possible position on Juneteenth, which is not to attack it on the woke of it all, but to attack it on the idea that it's a holiday, that it's a day off work. Let's listen to this truth from Donald Trump. Quote, "Too many non-working holidays in America. It is costing our country billions of dollars to keep all of these businesses closed. The workers don't want it either. Soon we'll end up having a holiday for every once working day of the year. It must change if we are going to make America great again. That is crazy, right? I mean, that's bizarre. I mean, it's crazy to attack Juneteenth because of woke, because celebrating the end of slavery is woke. That's crazy. But attacking it on the idea that people in the United States don't work enough. Like, that's actually the argument. Donald Trump thinks that you don't work enough. And it's also just, like factually not true. Do we have 11 federal holidays now, most of which for most people are not paid, right? But we have 11 federal holidays, and that's like a normal amount. In the UK, they have 9. In France, they have 11. In Spain, they have 14. In Germany, they have 13. In Chile, they have 15. In South Korea, they have 15. In Japan, they have 15. In Israel, they have 10. So it's like we have a normal amount of holidays. What do we not have a normal amount of, though? There is something that's related that we do not have a normal amount of, and that is minimum days of paid leave. Right? Most countries that have industrialized mandate as a part of the law, just like we have in the United States with minimum wages or overtime, right? It is mandatory in the United States. Generally speaking, if you employ somebody, you have to pay them at least $7.25 an hour. It is mandatory in the United States, generally speaking, that if you work somebody for more than 40 hours in a week, you have to pay them time and 1/2 of their base hourly rate. Okay. So just like we have those laws, in most other countries, they have minimum days of annual leave. In the United Kingdom, they have 28 days statutory minimum paid leave. In Germany, they have 20 days. In France, they have 20 days. In Spain, they have 22. In Chile, they have 15. South Korea, they have 15. Australia, they have 20. Japan, 10. Israel, 11. Canada, 10. Mexico has 6. If you're an employer in Mexico, you are mandated to give your employees 6 days of paid vacation leave. But in America, that number is 0. 0 days. Right? And we just talked about University of North Alabama privatizing their groundskeeping staff. Their new company is only going to give them 5 vacation days. Right? So Americans work way too much. Now, most people in the United States do get some amount of paid leave, right? I mean, just because it's not in the law that an employer has to give you paid leave, most employers do give you some. Even these evil vampires who are going to be taking over the contract for groundskeeping work at UNA, even those blood-sucking ghouls are giving their employees 5 days a year, right? And they're not legally obligated to do that. Okay, so then let's ask the question: how many hours of work do people in the United States on average perform per year? Wikipedia has a list of of these numbers, and it's coming from Wikipedia, so but Wikipedia is generally, people dog on Wikipedia too much, and it's generally pretty good. So Americans work, let's see, where is the United States? Almost 1,800 hours per year. So that's something on the order of 4 weeks of leave, generally speaking, or 4 weeks of not working, right? I mean, some of that can be unpaid leave. But 1,765 hours of work, is the average in the United States. In Germany, that number, the average number of hours worked per year, is 1,353. That is 400 hours less. That is 10 weeks less. German workers have 2.5 more months off per year than workers in the United States do. And you can go down the list. I mean, this is all of the European countries have way more time off than people in the United States. Denmark, they only work 1,400 hours per year. Norway, 1,417. The Netherlands, 1,430. Iceland, 1,493. France, 1,514. Luxembourg, 1,518. And on United Kingdom, 1,670. Canada is still, they're getting closer to us. They have 1,696. So they have about a week and a half more off than we do in the United States. And that's not just, we work 400 hours more than workers in Germany. But that means, that is, like, people don't realize how much time we sacrifice at the altar of capital. Right? We are literally selling parts of our life that we will never get back to a company for money so that the company can make profits off of us, so that, generally speaking, somebody at the top can make ungodly, demonic amounts of money.
Hey, 5 seconds, just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
That time is time that the company could afford to pay us more for and give us more time off for. And that time is time that we could be spending with our family, spending raising our children. It's time that we could be spending learning a hobby. It's time that we could be spending getting a skill to maybe become an entrepreneur and start our own business or something like that, right? There's so many knock-on effects that spending so much of our time at work does that is poisonous to us as individuals and to our society. And so it is just so bizarre. It is just so bizarre that Trump is choosing this terrain to fight on about Juneteenth, right? Like, nobody made him do, like, a union thug did not go into Trump's office and hold a baseball bat to him menacingly and say, you have to tell people that you want them to work more because that's going to be good for us, because it's going to be so easy for us to message against this as a proposal, right? Nobody made him do this. He just did it. He just did it. Because actually that's what he thinks, right? He's, one of these capitalists. A real estate guy. One of the worst kinds of capitalists, right? At least like the Fords, at least they produced something, right? The real estate people, they really are just leeches, At least Ford, Boeing, these people, like, there's a thing that they have produced at the end of it. But people like Donald Trump, they just leech. They just insert themselves into a transaction to take a cut. And he thinks that people that actually produce, that actually do work, that we have it too good, right? The person who works at Mercedes, the person who works at GM, the person who works at Honda, Hyundai, Stellantis, Ford, you have it too good, you have too much time off, and you should have to work more. Too many non-working holidays in America. The workers don't want it either. What workers is he talking to? Soon we'll end up having a holiday for every once working day of the year. It must change if we are going to make America great again. There was somebody on Twitter that mentioned that, one of the policy platforms of Bernie Sanders when he was running for president was to add like 5 more federal holidays or something like that. And that it was a really popular idea. People think you should have more time off. And we should. And also, Juneteenth being in the summer, that helps even out the number of holidays, right? Because we got a bunch of holidays in like the fall and winter, but not as much in the spring and summer. So we need more holidays in the summer to help kind of even out the holiday stuff. So we need, not only should we keep Juneteenth, it's a good thing to celebrate the freeing of the slaves. And it's also good that we have more time off of work. It is good that we have to spend less time sacrificing our lives to capitalists. That's a good thing. It is a good for people, for individuals, and for our society. Really bad what Trump is doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right to point to the disparity in paid time off between countries. I mean, it's just absolutely asinine to think that American workers have it too easy, that we have too much time off. It is just not borne out by the facts at all. And, we are always told that the United States is the greatest country on earth, that we're lucky to be here. We should be grateful to be Americans. And, let's look at it. Doesn't seem like a really great deal when you compare paid time off, when you look at, parental leave, and when you look at just in general, the working hours that we have to put in compared to other countries. It's really, it's dire.
Yes. Yeah. Bad. It's bad. Some folks in the chat. Adam says DJT's never worked a day in his life, never dug a ditch, never flipped a burger, never carried roofing shingles, never done any work. Quirky Geek Girl says the thing that really boggles my mind is that Canada's had paternity leave since the 1970s. The U.S. still doesn't have it. Yeah, it's really bad. User says, I used to be interested in medicine. It was expected that you work 80 plus hours a week with a salary of $30,000 in your starting years. Then the big money comes, but physicians get only 1 to 2 days off biweekly. Yeah, I mean, it's...
Which, is that even good for the patients?
No.
Right?
Yeah, right.
I know how I am after I've been working more than 40 hours a week. I wouldn't
imagine...
trust myself making life and death decisions necessarily for other people. That's really not cool. I mean, it's just not good for anyone involved. It's not good for the doctors. Yeah, I understand they'll make some good money down the road, but at what cost? And, at a real sacrifice to their health and their families, if they can even have much of a family, at that time in their life. But how is that helpful to have stressed out, tired, exhausted, unhealthy people doing important jobs? It's not good for anyone. And, something that is on my mind all the time is that in the 1930s, during the massive union upsurge, during the fight for the New Deal, we came really close to getting a 30-hour work week, like really close to that. And how much better off would we be, if we could do that? And of course, at the time, they were facing a lot of unemployment. And the idea was, well, if there's not enough jobs, let's spread the work around more.
Right.
And, I think that is a sort of thinking, the big picture thinking we need to embrace again. And, something I appreciated about UAW and Sean Fain in their recent, relatively recent contract fight with the Big Three was that emphasis on reducing working hours. We shouldn't have to work as much, right? Like, why can't we survive off 30 hours? It's really, it's time to move forward. I mean, we don't have to do this anymore. We don't have to have people working 80 hours a week. It's insane.
Yeah. Quirky Geek Girl says they could replace the Confederate holidays in Alabama with a day to celebrate Rosa Parks, but I doubt that would happen. We do have the Alabama officially celebrates Martin Luther King Day as MLK/Robert E. Lee Day. Which is insane.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Juneteenth just now became a state holiday. And my recollection was it took a white Republican from a rural area to actually get that legislation across the finish line. So, it's not a great situation. There's always a legacy here in the South and in Alabama of celebrating the Confederacy, which is just absolutely obscene.
Which, I mean, it's obscene, obviously, and it's obscene because of like the times that, Confederate monument building increased. But it's also like, if you actually, and this is how you know that for so many people, it's not actually about like heritage or honoring people or anything like that, because Robert E. Lee wanted you not to do that. Like, he even said at the end of the Civil War, like, we should not be making monuments to the Confederacy because we don't need to like increase divisions. We need to focus on unity or whatever. Like, if you actually think that Robert E. Lee was an honorable person and you want to honor him, you would stop talking about him so much. Adam in the chat says, as a suggestion, overtime should be double time with double benefits paid. Yeah, I mean, there are some union contracts that have stuff like that. Double time. And in some cases you can have things like triple time too, actually. Right. Which is really cool. So
yeah, I know, there are good union contract protections that you can get, including like protections for the day. Because sometimes people think, oh, well, I worked a 14-hour shift. Well, how did you do that? Like, you're not allowed to do that, are you? I'm like, yeah, you are. They'll let you work as long as you want to work, as long as you're made to work. But if you have a union and you have collective bargaining, or even if you don't have collective bargaining, but you have union power, hopefully you can win some provisions that protect you, such as, overtime or double time after 8 hours or after midnight or things like that really can at least try to compensate you for the sacrifice that you're making.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.